So, Mark, we have a deal alert. Longhorn Casino, they're offering everyone who cashes their paycheck a free spin of the wheel. You can win up to $1,000 in free slot play. Cashing your paycheck in casinos has been a thing here in Vegas forever. Friday nights, usually people will line up. I guess in the age of direct deposits, probably less important.
HR companies, the HR department's going to hate us because everybody's going to switch back to paper checks to take advantage of this. But no, when I hear Longhorn, I assume you get a free steak if you cash your check there or something, bad joke alert. But I would do it. I mean, if you have a check and if you can, but you got to know yourself. If you know that you can go in there and just get the free spin, hope to get something worth something, and you could leave or maybe grab a drink or whatever and not gamble a lot. But you definitely don't want your whole salary sitting there and you're like, hey, let's go to the table and see what happens. You know where the best one probably is?
Where?
Pahrump.
Of course. Mark, we have a traffic solution for all the problems with I-15. It's not the Bright Line train. It's not a new lane on the highway. It's just the shoulder. And they finally finished this paving project or redoing the shoulders so that 5-mile stretch of I-15 over the border in California can be used on Sundays and Mondays only. So they will only open it up during high traffic times. But yeah, instead of paving a lane, they just let you drive on the shoulder. That's how we do it here.
There's so many things I don't get about this. One, like, why just the right shoulder? The left shoulder looks just as wide. Why not both? And only 5 miles, does it really do anything besides just get you aggravated all over again when you have to merge back down? I feel like it would make it worse because you're already in 3 lanes and moving, as you're going to be moving, going to 5 for a minute and then back to 3 is going to just back it up even worse, I think.
It'll help in that one spot because that's one bottleneck, but there's another bottleneck, as you point out, down the road. So it's not a solution. There's a ton of road that's still 2 lanes in between Baker and Barstow and other spots on I-15. The crazy thing is Gavin Newsom announced this, almost 2 years ago, I want to say. So I don't understand how it took them so long to do this. Seems like they could have done a lane, but California has no priority to fix this problem. So I don't think it's going to get any better. I would predict that we don't see a 3rd lane all across I-15 in that area before the Bright Line train. I think the train's going to get here first.
You're doing this on Sundays and Mondays from like 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. or something like that. So then you're going to have people trying to do it other days and saying, hey, I thought this was the rule. Like, just to allow it to be done all the time, or you should have just made it a lane. It's too confusing and it's going to lead to people getting upset. Or one, people won't know it's there and they'll try to, put their car out there to block people and there'll be fights and accidents and stuff. It's just a terrible setup.
The last time I drove it a few months ago, somebody was using the shoulder because they already had some lines painted there. Somebody was using it even though they weren't supposed to, and there weren't any police, although there is a California Highway Patrol substation there, so I wouldn't try that. Outside of those hours, you'll probably get caught, but I guess this is good if you're driving in from LA. So can't wait to see how this looks in practice. So at the end of our last show, you brought up All Net Arena kind of as a throwaway, but they're back in the news because this project might finally die. Now, first thing, we got a picture of the pit in the ground, and there was still a lot of water in it, and it just looked like the old wave pool from Wet n Wild, which gave me joy. They could maybe sell some tickets, let us go swimming in there. But their deadline is September 6th. So if they don't do something by September 6th, they're done, and the county commission basically hinting they're not going to get an extension. So maybe finally that land can go to somebody who will build something.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that the commission's finally saying we're not going to extend you anymore. That should have been done a long time ago. And it's just sad. I was thinking about this. I never went to Wet n Wild when it was there, but how cool would it be to have a water park on the Strip these days? I know that with property values where they're at, it would probably never make economical sense to do it, but that was just such a cool thing to have. And I'm sure people that live in Vegas or visit Vegas would love to have that option of something to do, especially in the summer months when it's so hot. It would be something so cool to have there. Rest in peace, Wet n Wild.
We do have a couple of water parks. We have Cowabunga Bay and then Cowabunga Canyon, which was another Wet n Wild. But they're in local areas and they're not on the Strip, so completely kind of different thing. So the locals do have some outlets there, but I grew up at the Wet n Wild on the Strip, visited there, dozens and dozens of times as a kid. Loved doing it. My parents just loved to set us loose in Las Vegas. So usually one day we were at Wet n Wild all day, with just me and my brother. So no parental supervision or anything. And it was a great old school water park. And it's just such a shame that it closed because it was profitable, but it closed for a condo tower going into the Great Recession. That fell through. And then Jackie Robinson has been pushing AllNet for, I think, close to 10 years now. And he announced last year he had $5 billion in funding secured. They said you have to start construction by September 6th. He hasn't. Let's let this thing die, as much as we like to make fun of it.
Moving dirt doesn't count. I mean, just pushing dirt around.
They got the water. They got the wave pool. Maybe that counts. Maybe that'll be their argument in front of the county commission. I don't know. But that's a prime piece of real estate. And, Fontainebleau's opening, so the North Strip getting more stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody else tries to pick this up or if he tries to start over and do this thing all over again. I don't know. If he does, he will have to start with all the permitting again if they don't approve an extension on September 6th. So we shall see.
Yeah, let's hope not.
So we talked about the Penn Entertainment, Barstool Sports, weird sort of thing. And then they partnered with ESPN Bet. So there's a lot of these like co-branding partnerships in sportsbooks these days. And Venetian debuted their Yahoo Sportsbook by William Hill. And it looks really nice. They released some concepts. I haven't been there, but it's a renovated sportsbook. I don't really understand what the Yahoo tie-in is. Yeah. How does that benefit your sportsbook in any way? That's really where I'm confused. ESPN Bet I can see, but Yahoo, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, half the people going there don't even know what Yahoo is. That was a very 90s thing. Yahoo was the Google before Google, but nobody... most of these people going into the sportsbook don't know the Yahoo name, don't read Yahoo Sports. It's just weird. And then it's run by William Hill, which is owned by Caesars. This is all just a weird hodgepodge of things thrown together. It looks nice. I think the one thing that kind of stood out to me was the caves or the dens that you can set up where you get like a private little room with huge TVs and stuff. And they said one of them, the largest one, you can watch up to five games at one time, or was it 8 games? And I think that'd be really cool for like March Madness if you're a high roller and all your buddies hang out in there and watch all the games at once.
Yeah, we've seen a revolution in the sportsbook spaces, right? I mean, Circa, and there's so many of these renovated ones, and they're looking better and better. And this one does look great. The name aside, it's a little confusing, but if that's what they had to do to get this thing up, it looks good. And those man caves are kind of a cool concept. And like 98-inch TVs, I think they said in there. So yeah, we're heading to like a new era. It's a lot more exciting than like the old man sitting in front of the racing sportsbook 30 years ago watching horses go or whatever. Sportsbooks were boring to me. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's crazy that they're investing all this money in stuff into sportsbook, because we did the numbers a couple weeks ago. Sports betting doesn't bring, the margins are thin. It doesn't bring in a ton of money. So I'm surprised that they would put money. Maybe they've, realized that brings people in and they gamble elsewhere or spend money elsewhere on the property. I'm just kind of surprised the investment level they're putting into this, knowing that it isn't such a great moneymaker for them.
Another interesting story this week, Bellagio was sold, quote unquote. A few years ago, MGM sold Bellagio to Blackstone, or at least 95% of the land of Bellagio. They kept operations and they pay rent, and that goes up 2% a year. MGM also retained 5% ownership in Bellagio's land. But Blackstone's selling off like 22% of the land to a company called Realty Income Corp, and they're going to kind of take over this. What's interesting about this story is not that Blackstone's sort of splitting up their ownership. It's sort of the vision that in 10 or 15 years, these are just going to be REITs and you're going to have like multiple owners and multiple stakes. How does that affect these casinos long term? Maybe the argument is the operations are locked in. It won't, but you have to think this murkies the water, and I don't know what the end result of all of this will be, but I expect we'll see more of these sales where portions of the land are sold off from companies like Vici and Blackstone, etc.
Maybe it'll be like your Green Bay Packers, where everybody can own a share of Bellagio land stock at some point, or, like you buy a little bit. That would be a good way to do it, to raise money. Sell off bits of your land to everybody that loves your casino brand and build it up from there. But no, I mean, the biggest worry is, and we've talked about this, where does maintenance go? Who's in charge of that? Is it the MGM that's running the casino? Are they in charge of it? Or, since they're paying rent to the lease, should the property owners be taking care of things? I think my biggest fear is that we'll see like Circus kind of go everywhere across the strip, just everything looking kind of dirty and drab and not being taken care of. You hope that they would invest in it anyway because it brings them more money in the long run, but that's not what we've seen so far since this all started.
What's ironic is that Circus is one of the few properties on the strip that's owned by the operator owns the land, which is funny. True. There. Another interesting aspect of this is when Blackstone bought the property, it was valued at $4.25 billion. And as part of this sale, it's valued at $5.1 billion. So the asset has gone up for them, and they're selling off to basically give distributions. And that's what they need. They need cash, but they made money, and they are a company that's going to buy and sell, and that's what they're going to do. So we'll keep a closer eye on some of the other casinos. You have to think, like I said, Vici is so big and they own so much that we might start to see more of these micro sales or whatever, but we don't really know how that'll affect things long term. I did want to look at this. I was at Bellagio a couple weeks ago. I do need to talk about the spa tower. There's just been so much news, so I'll hopefully get to that in the next show. But I did want to show the garden table because I finally got to I didn't get to eat there, but I got to kind of experience what it was like to be in there and see sort of the atmosphere for people. You are definitely on display in this table. And for people who don't know, this is a table inside the conservatory. During the day, if you want breakfast or lunch, Sadel's will serve it. And then at night, Michael Mina will serve it. And they have like a set menu there for you. And it's really cool. Like you're just sitting in the middle of the conservatory. If you don't mind people staring and taking pictures and videos of you, because you're going to be in like a gazillion videos. But yeah. I think it's a neat experience. And the price isn't too crazy. It's not cheap, but it's not like insane over the top. I also love the current display, so I just wanted to show some video, throw up some video of that. Yeah, loving it.
Throw it up there. I don't know if that would be for me because I wouldn't really, can you enjoy it that much if everybody's just taking pictures of you? For people that like to be center of attention, or definitely people on Instagram and stuff like that, this would be like a perfect fit for them. So I think it would be really cool, unique. You get different views. You get to hang out in the conservatory for a while. You get to, more unique than anything else. So I can see the pluses and the minuses, and it just depends. I wouldn't plan on the food being worth the price tag. It's more just the experience of it to say you did it. I'm sure after 10 minutes, you just stop caring that people are watching you.
Yeah, it seemed to be the case with the people that were in there. You're paying an upcharge for this, obviously, but Sadel's has good food. Michael Mina has good food. Neither restaurant is cheap. So, you're going to get decent tasting food, I would say, or hope anyway. Now let's talk about Rio, Mark, because there's some fun stuff that came out of Rio, including some shots of the new rooms. And, so we saw the concept art, or actually, I don't even think it was a concept. I do think the pictures we had a few weeks ago were actual pictures of the room, but these are different angles and stuff, and we get a better look at the bathroom. And, you start looking at these pictures, and then you kind of look at the bed, and then you kind of squint your eyes, and then I zoom in, and what do you think was not on the bed? It was the whole room is dressed up, and then no pillows on the bed. It's almost as if they wrote it for us.
No pillows, no sheets, none of that, which I know will come up in a second. But yeah, there's a throw pillow in there, and then the worst table in the history of tables, the Fred Flintstone steak table is there, which is so hideous. I don't know why they put it in there, but everything looks exactly as how we thought it would. A little bit cheap, at low end, not great. The carpet looks pretty rough, pretty thin. So it'll be interesting to see how long these last before they get beat up pretty bad. I don't think they'll last long, but I can't get over how ugly that table is.
There are things I like in this room. There are things I don't like. Overall, the whole design scheme seems like it's from 15 years ago and not from today. And that's sort of my big problem with it. But you're right, it's cheap. People have been saying, roadside Hyatt, things like that. But we have our guy on the inside. The same guy who sent us the Fontainebleau carpet pictures has moved to Rio now. And what he said, and I want to quote him directly, he said, "Rio carpet sucks. It's so 70s. The whole remodel is cheap and very Des Moines, Iowa Motel 6 quality." That's what a guy who's working on the room said. And yeah, I don't know if I'm that harsh based on the pictures, but yeah, not good information coming from him.
Yeah, and he just came from Fontainebleau, so he's seeing both ends of the spectrum. So I'm guessing that skews it a little bit more. Like you just come from high-end finishes, good design, all that stuff. Everybody loves the look of Fontainebleau, and then you come over here and you see this. So I'm sure it made it seem worse than it actually is, or at least I hope it does. The rooms are still some of the biggest in Vegas, so you're getting a big footprint. So that you still have that going for you at least.
Yeah, there are far worse rooms in Las Vegas than these. I should point that out. Dreamscape did say they were going for approachable luxury in this property when they renovated. That's one of the things they said over and over and over again. This room does not seem like approachable luxury to me. It just seems like a Hyatt Place room or something like that, just a limited service, 3-star-ish hotel. But reserve judgment. Hopefully the materials aren't as cheap as he says. Rio has been known for not having pillows. We suspect that Caesars isn't investing anything. But also, apparently Planet Hollywood had a fire, and now they don't have sheets. Somebody let us know on Twitter that they're only using 1 sheet instead of 2 at Planet Hollywood these days because of the fire. Apparently they can't get restocked in time.
Yeah, they don't wash that duvet every time. So that's kind of gross that they're just doing 1 sheet on you own multiple properties, go borrow some sheets from somebody and you can get an order in within a day or two. Like I worked in the linen business for a long time. You can get sheets. It's not a problem. This is just disgusting.
I mean, it's just the housekeeping at Caesars on all aspects has just been terrible. Rooms are dirty. I haven't had a clean Caesars room since COVID, I don't think. So a quick Formula One update here. And I think Formula One might be struggling to sell tickets, and there's still a lot of tickets available. But specifically, we've seen some backtracking on the hotels. And I noticed this starting with Sahara. I actually got an ad on Twitter from Sahara saying our Formula One rates and whatever. So I clicked through it and they had a special $294 a night for that Friday and Saturday night, which is significantly cheaper than anywhere else, even cheaper than Circus Circus, far less than the prices were a couple months ago. And that's plus taxes and resort fee. But then I also started seeing rumblings.
Did you see how big the taxes and resort fee were?
Yeah. Well, yeah, 100, but that was for 2 nights. It's still far cheaper than anywhere else on the Strip. But then we saw rumblings. I had a couple of viewers mention that they're receiving comps now from MGM. I had somebody mention they're receiving comp offers from Cosmo, and we also saw other people confirm that on Twitter. So comp offers going out, hotel prices coming down. I think the bad part is anybody who booked, I think they're all on non-refundable rates. So if you already booked your room, you're kind of screwed there. But if you were kind of considering coming, keep an eye open because I suspect the prices will continue to fall as it gets closer because there's a lot of hotel rooms to fill.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing with all like one-time sporting events like this. There's a risk waiting until right near the end of it, but usually you can get a better deal doing it that way. So unless you just got money to burn, it's always better to kind of sit and see how it plays out. I mean, even if you buy later, you usually only pay a little bit more than at the initial offering. That's the gamble you take. Hey, it's Vegas. That's what it's all about. So take that gamble.
People are predicting doomsday. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's an interesting thing we'll keep an eye on for you. And let's close with a Fontainebleau update. We know the standard rooms are going to be right around 490 square feet, which is a little bit, I would say, on the small side for a luxury hotel, but they have some really beautiful suites and all kinds of interesting furniture. As we've talked about, we kind of knew what the overall look would be, the aesthetic in the rooms. I like the rooms a lot. The carpet in the standard rooms, not my favorite. I don't hate it. We showed pictures of it before, but it doesn't like grab my heart, but I do like the rooms. I think it all looks really good. And some of those suites are pretty sweet.
Yeah, and the carpet they use in the main areas, they should just use in the rooms because that carpet is awesome. But I understand wanting to change it up a bit so you're not seeing the same thing the whole time. I think the color scheme and everything designs a lot like what we've seen with Bellagio and others. You know, the blues, the cool tones, all that stuff. I do think they have a little bit more pop in their art and furniture selection, so I really do like it. I wish it had a little bit more Vegas tie in there, which we've said a lot. I think Circa's the only one that really nailed that, the color scheme and bringing in some Vegas-ness to it. We're missing a little bit of that, but overall, I think it looks great.
I agree. Of all the new rooms we've gotten in the last few years, I still think Circa's are the best. They're not the most high quality. They are high quality, but they're not that top level quality as far as the finishes, but just the overall design, color scheme, everything, those deep blues and that Vegas tie-in. I love the wallpaper in the bathroom. So that's sort of my thing, but that's a whole different sort of concept than what Fontainebleau is going for. I think it looks good. I like it. I can't wait to see it. So here comes the rumor. Told to us that the rumor going around Fontainebleau's construction site is December 2nd or possibly a soft opening. My source said 75 to 90% of the rooms would be ready by then. So maybe not the entire portfolio of rooms available. Maybe not like a full grand opening that day. Maybe it doesn't happen, but that's sort of what people are talking about on the Fontainebleau job site. And if that happens, Mark, it'll be open for your trip.
Yes, perfect. I'm really rooting for this. And hopefully if they have the rooms, 75%, they don't overbook it like Resorts World did and then have to walk people from Crockford's, which was a, kind of a sour point to the opening. And, we saw a rumor that they're not even letting you use the Crockford's check-in if you're not staying in a suite at Crockford's, which I find just bizarre if true. Yeah, that's crazy. But I'm excited for this. Early December makes sense. It's right after F1, so they can grab those headlines, kind of like what Durango wants to do and all that. So I think, we're in there. And then maybe Chris Angel will be out front selling timeshare, who knows?
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. So much news this week. It's just so packed full of stuff, and it's good to finally see some stuff. We're seeing renderings. We're getting a lot of Rio stuff, and it's good to see that Rio is moving with these rooms. I know we're kind of negative. I will reserve hope. And we also have a whole other tower, which we suspect will be higher end rooms, or at least higher than these in the Masquerade Tower. So let's not write the story about Rio quite yet, and give these guys a chance to turn this thing around and renovate their casino. And I want to be very clear about that. But we got to be honest there. But let us know what you guys think about anything. We said Fontainebleau December 2nd. You think that's going to happen? The Rio rooms, everything else we discussed on this show. Hit us up in the comments. We'll discuss it all there. We do 2 shows a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. We're back in just a couple days with another show. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Buy some sheets, Caesars. It's needed. Okay, please.
Or bring your own. Bring your own. There you go.